Hi, it's Katrina. From gooey fish with enormous eyes to a mysterious monster that prowls the ice, here are 10 of the weirdest creatures ever found in Antarctica. Number 10. The Antarctic Ice Fish. The Antarctic ice fish is one of the strangest creatures not only in Antarctica but anywhere on our planet. It has no red blood cells or hemoglobin, which makes its blood practically translucent. Instead of being red, its blood is colorless, and the scaleless and pale fish is white in some areas and see-through in others. The ice fish is the only vertebrate in the world that doesn't have red blood cells. Instead, it has translucent blood and a white heart. At first, biologists thought that its blood had adapted to the freezing, oxygen-rich waters of Antarctica. Maybe they absorbed so much oxygen through their gills and super thin skin that they didn't need big red blood cells. However, it looks like the loss of hemoglobin wasn't a great adaptation, but instead a genetic accident. Icefish blood can only transport 10% as much oxygen as other fish blood, so the icefish has changed its body dramatically in order to survive. Professor of Marine and Environmental Sciences H. William Dietrich says that icefish evolved about 77 million years ago and moved into the cold regions of the Southern Ocean. As the fish adapted genes that protected it from being frozen to death, these same anti-freezing proteins somehow changed the fish's genetic structure. It became able to utilize the high concentration of oxygen in the Antarctic waters instead of relying on silly, outdated red blood cells. These fish are helpful in the study of anemia, as some of their genes relate to some human genes. Icefish were also used as a model for investigating osteoporosis. While they may not have hemoglobin, they are still extremely resilient fish. Number 9. Translucent Mud Blob. 10,000 feet beneath the ice, scientists in Antarctica made a shocking discovery. It was in the Southern Ocean on the research vessel the RV Tangaroa that an international team of researchers scanned the seabed using state-of-the-art technology to capture images of the abyssal plain, an area of the ocean about as deep as the Swiss Alps are high. It's an area without a lot of life, but scientists were keen to see what they could find anyway. So they used special equipment to trawl the bottom of the sea here. That means they basically took a net and dragged it along the sea floor at a depth of 10,000 feet. It took about 6 hours to complete the sweep, at which point the scientists got their reward. They had managed to scoop up 10 buckets of mud and a single fish. The fish was actually more of a blob. It was a mucky, gooey, translucent mud blob. It probably looked very different in its home environment under so much pressure, but up on the surface, it was a mere shadow of its real self. According to marine biologist Karine Schnabel with the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research in New Zealand, the creature is completely unknown. Nobody knows how many are hiding in the mud at such a depth or how common the creature might be. Nobody has ever seen anything like it before. As far as the experts can tell, the creature might be some kind of sea cucumber, but it's just impossible to say without more specimens and investigations. Number 8. The Antarctic Hellfish. A horrifying new species of fish may have just been found in Antarctica by scientists who were attempting to explore the depths of the frozen continent. Expedition Antarctica was a mission to find the weirdest marine life on the planet, and it was 100% successful. Scientist Andrew Stewart was in charge of the mission, and with his help they found a whole heap of weird creatures living in the icy waters. One of the fish discovered was unlike anything scientists had seen before, looking like some kind of small fish from hell. It was pink, gooey, and very slimy with enormous eyes and a little tongue sticking out. Stewart says, "That's why I came to Antarctica, to see things like this." At first, nobody could figure out what this Antarctic fish was. After a bit of research, they deemed it to be a type of snailfish, a creature that looks a lot like a tadpole and that only lives in the coldest parts of the Arctic and Antarctic oceans. They live about 2,100 feet beneath the surface. There are also about 400 different types of them with an unknown number still unidentified. As a side note, snailfish have been spotted deep inside the cavernous Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean as well, in the darkest and coldest waters. As for the creepy hellfish found by Andrew Stewart, it hasn't been confirmed as a new species yet, but it just might be soon. Would you go on an expedition to Antarctica and brave the cold? How about a cruise? Let me know in the comments below. Number 7. Antarctic octopus. The Antarctic octopus is another animal with strange blood. It seems there might be many things that live in the frigid waters of Antarctica that have some kind of genetic mutation involving their blood. That level of cold will do things to a living creature. The icefish may have a white heart, but the Antarctic octopus has blue blood. According to Live Science, the octopus is able to survive in the freezing temperatures because it has a special blue pigment in its blood. The temperatures surrounding Antarctica are somewhere between 28.8 and 35.6 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very hard to transport oxygen through the body in these temperatures. In order to cope, the weird Antarctic octopus uses hemocyanin, a special protein that makes its blood turn blue and keeps its body from freezing. But this little octopus isn't restricted to cold waters. Even when the temperature rises to a warm 50 degrees Fahrenheit, the Antarctic octopus still thrives. Because of its special blood, it has access to far more oxygen than other animals, suggesting it has a better chance of surviving global warming than most of the other fish found in Antarctica. Additionally, this tiny octopus, like many others, is venomous. It has special venom that works even in the freezing temperature, allowing it to hunt and poison creatures no matter how cold it gets. The venom is so unique that there have been recent expeditions to Antarctica just to capture and study more of these octopuses, in the hope of learning more about their special venom and how it can treat medical conditions in the human world. Number 6. The scale worm. The Antarctic scale worm is the most nightmarish thing living anywhere on the southernmost continent. It's horrible, it stinks, it's ugly, and it has a golden mullet that seems completely out of place. Poor guy. The scale worm can be found at depths of about 1,500 feet, but unlike your garden variety worm, this one is absolutely huge. The massive species can grow to be almost 8 inches long and 4 inches wide, and it has a head that looks like an alien monster, with its body looking as though it's made from human teeth. The scale worm belongs to the family Polynoidae, and these make up a lot of different marine worms. Scientists don't know too much about the scale worm, but they do know that what appears to be its head is actually a proboscis, or what you might call a tubular sucking mouthpiece, like what mosquitoes have. In other words, it's a really ugly straw with sharp teeth that can slurp up prey. The scale worm can turn its proboscis completely inside out and fold it inside its body. Then, when the worm is ready to eat, it unfurls it, rips apart some unsuspecting critter, and slurps up its remains. According to Australian Geographic, these worms are voracious hunters. Number 5. The comb jelly. The comb jelly is definitely one of the weirder jellyfish that lives in the ocean. It's shaped like an oval, has 8 rows of plates that almost look like combs, and it's strikingly beautiful. It uses its little combs to propel itself through the water like little feet. As it moves, light is diffracted or broken up through its little body to create the effect of a shimmering rainbow. What we have here is a rainbow jellyfish that looks like a head scratcher and is often spotted floating through Antarctic waters. Other than the comb jelly's unique shape and its ability to sparkle like a rainbow, it can also expand its stomach to hold prey at least half its own size. This means the comb jelly can eat as much as it feels like. The comb jelly is just like other jellies in most other ways. It has a few specialized organs, such as the one that allows it to detect chemical traces in the water to better hunt down prey. It also has a special structure called a statocyst, which is sensitive to gravity. It's what allows the jellyfish to keep its orientation while in the water. This is how most jellyfish know where to go and how to get around, considering they don't exactly have eyes to see up and down. The most terrifying fact about the comb jelly is that it's kind of a cannibal. It has been known to attack other comb jellies and slowly eat them alive by biting off small chunks with the special structures inside its mouth, basically nibbling its own kin to death. They are delicate and aggressive all at the same time. For the first time ever, scientists at the Monterey Bay Aquarium have been able to actually raise a spotted comb jelly. Not quite the same as the one in Antarctica, but pretty similar. Most of them in captivity only live for about a day, so successfully being able to culture a species opens the door to sharing more critters and information with other aquariums around the world. Number 4. Hibernated tusk monster. Scientists at Harvard University have discovered evidence that there was once an animal that lived in Antarctica 250 million years ago during the early Triassic and had one of the best winter survival strategies in the world of animals. The creature was a distant relative of the modern mammal. It was a type of Lystrosaurus, and it had a beak like a turtle and tusks like a warthog. At the time it lived, Antarctica was part of Pangaea but was still part of the Antarctic Circle. It had very long periods without sunlight every winter. The animals that lived on the continent had to deal with going into total darkness for months at a time, so some of them found a way to hibernate. Fossils of a Lystrosaurus found in Antarctica have revealed that it may have been the first mammal-like creature to ever practice hibernation. Researchers looked at a fragmented piece of the animal's tusk. Inside the tusk, researchers found rings, just like how there are rings inside of a tree known as growth rings. But looking beyond the rings, researchers found indications that each year they fell into a hibernation-like state, probably conserving their energy and waiting out the brutal winter. This was revealed by stress markings, which researchers compared to the stress markings on the teeth of modern animals, which they developed around hibernation time. Scientists can't conclusively say whether this prehistoric beast really did snooze through the winter, but it probably did because it was one of the few creatures to survive the Permian period, which wiped out 70% of vertebrate species on land. It went on to live another 5 million years and spread across Pangaea. And now for a really scary beast, but first wanted to give a big shout out to Epic Cat Sneeze and Billy Butcher. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out with us. If you are new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you leave. Number 3. Theningen. There is a creature potentially living in Antarctica that you won't believe. It's a humanoid monster known as a Ningen, and apparently there are a few of them living in the icy waters of Antarctica. The Ningen is white in color, and some claim it's a species of ape that developed the ability to breathe underwater. Ningens have been spotted with mermaid-like tails and hind legs that allow them to scuttle across dry land. If you've never heard of this animal, you're not alone. It's not as famous as the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot, but rumors of Ningens have existed in Japan for years, going back to Japanese fishing vessels that spotted the creatures around the waters of Antarctica. It's believed the Japanese have actually documented the existence of Ningens, though they weren't really brought to public attention until 2007, when they were discussed in a local paranormal magazine. They've been called Antarctic humans, and they've even been captured in pictures thanks to Google Maps. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, not all the pictures taken of the Ningen are credible. For that matter, sightings are few and far between, with people describing the creature as being a human-ape hybrid up to 90 feet long with the skin of a whale. That's obviously too large of a creature to be stomping around on the ice, and it's hard to imagine scientists not discovering a creature bigger than a blue whale swimming around. Number 2. Mysterious ice creatures. A team of polar scientists with the British Antarctic Survey found a rock on the seafloor teeming with strange, almost extraterrestrial life. The team attached a camera to the end of a long instrument and lowered it into a drill hole. The only way they could reach the ocean floor was to drill the hole through the ice shelf. They lowered the camera all the way through to the bottom and were shocked to discover several previously unknown species. Not only that, but each new species was attached to the same large boulder. They were animals like sea sponges living in total darkness in sub-zero temperatures. Almost no animals have ever been witnessed in such inhospitable conditions. This may not seem super exciting. After all, we're not dealing with new sharks or something visually striking, but this is interesting for scientists because it proves life forms can live pretty much anywhere. These creatures should realistically be frozen and dead, and yet they've attached themselves to rocks and filter feed from other almost microscopic critters moving through the water column. Researchers don't know exactly what the animals are yet, but they are working to find out. Number 1. Skeletal Remains. Someone has discovered the remains of what may be a dinosaur in Antarctica. The discovery was made using Google Maps. A person who has not been identified noticed the obvious skeleton of a creature lying in the middle of a valley, surrounded by snow-capped mountains. Initial estimates put the animal at being anywhere between 12 and 20 feet. Looking closely, the animal seems to have front and rear legs, a kind of fishy body, and the general structure of a dinosaur or prehistoric reptile. We know dinosaurs used to live on the continent millions of years ago, but how such a fresh corpse could have appeared doesn't make much sense. The only dinosaurs ever found in Antarctica were already fossils. What we could be dealing with here is the dead body of a seal that got stuck inland because of moving ice, then gradually became a skeleton. There's honestly no way of knowing what the creature could be, though we can say with a pretty high degree of certainty that it's real. There are also rumors that as the ice melts from Antarctica, more and more secrets of the ancient world will be revealed, and maybe this strange creature is one of them. Thanks for watching! What's your favorite animal from Antarctica? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon! Bye!